Welcome to this playthrough of King's Bounty: The Legend. Today we'll be just going over the beginning of the game and the tutorial. I'll be going over some of the basics of the game to help if you haven't played this before, show you how to play it and what to do. And after that, in our second video, we'll actually get into the main gameplay. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go over to new game. So when you first start playing, you'll get an option of 3 different classes, 4 difficulties, and then you can name your character, pick an emblem, which are these 2 things are just aesthetics. So, choose whatever you'd like for that. Up here, unless you've played these games before, I would stick with normal. It makes everything even. Impossible, I wouldn't play unless you've played through this before because it's very difficult. So, your choices down here pretty much are warrior, just so you think. You're going to be using troops mostly and rage powers, things like that, which a lot of that you'll see as we play, the rage powers and stuff. The mage is the opposite end, where you're mostly using a lot of magic powers and smaller armies. And the paladin is a good mix of the 2. And when we actually go into the start of the game here, I'll show you exactly a little more about differences between these classes. The main thing between a lot of them also to realize is that there's 2 skills that each class gets. So the warrior gets Iron Fist, Anger. The paladin gets Holy Anger and Runic Stone. And the mage gets Higher Magic and Alchemy. And so while all 3 classes operate off of the same skill trees, each class gets their own bonus 2 skills. Other than that, mostly the warrior can support the biggest army, with the mage supporting the smallest army. And we'll go over how that works in just a moment. I'm going to stick with the middle, stick with the paladin. And so like I said, you can click through here. You can see there's tons of different little symbols. You can pick whatever you want. I think I'll just stick with this one. I like the look of this one. A name, same thing. The game suggests a name for you. You can take whatever, though. Sure, we can be Christian, I guess. And that's it. After that, the game starts. So we'll watch the opening movie, and then I'll go over some more stuff and show what the differences are between the 3 classes some more.
King Mark's ascent to the throne was unusual for the glorious kingdom of Darien. During the solemn ceremony, Prince Karl relinquished the throne to his younger brother. Having passed the crown, Karl retired to a remote location in the provinces, there dedicating himself to science, which held a far greater attraction to him than power. Thus, the younger Prince Mark became king, and soon was called wise for his deeds. For long years, nothing darkened the rule of Mark the Wise. Trouble seemed to flee the kingdom, and the people sincerely loved and respected their ruler. But the king grew sad, for he was not blessed with children. Science and magic proved useless, and so the king appealed to the gods of Endoria, and his prayer was heard. The gods sent him a baby, a beautiful girl, and the king named her after the brightest star in the night sky, Amelie. As the years went by, the gods looked on as the fate of Darien turned. First, news from the elven lands ceased, and then there arose armed conflicts between old allies. First the dwarves, and then it was the pirates from the Islands of Freedom who became too bold. Perhaps worse was the restlessness from within. The undead were on the rise. Robbery became commonplace. The mages complained of strange surges of magic, and storms and earthquakes, formerly quite rare, began to sweep the kingdom.
I don't know about you guys. I've never said or heard mages before. I've always said it mages, and everyone I know said mages, but if you say mages, let me know below.
However, these difficulties only strengthen the spirit of those who would dedicate their lives to the service of the kingdom. True heroes are wanted always, and today, young knights, guarantors of stability and keepers of the peace across their native lands and the whole world of Endoria, are completing their training in the Knight's Temple. Young knight, your time has come. Your mentor, Richard, awaits in the training center. A single step, is all that separates you from a life filled with breathtaking adventure. So go now. Show the world what you can do.
Huzzah! Alright. Let's get this going. So you were in the Darien Knights Temple, where your mentor, Iron Richard, will determine your future. So before we talk to Richard, we'll go over a few things real quick. So you can see anyone that has something for you by this little flag over the top. He wants to talk to us because he has a quest for us. But before we go too far, the part we're going to go into is the tutorial, kind of. The tutorial, frankly, is not the best in this game, so I'm hoping I'll be able to fill in any gaps that it's leaving out. The first thing we'll go over is down here. You can see your money, your rage, and your mana. So mana's for spells, money to buy things, and rage we'll go over later, because at the beginning of the game you can't do anything with the rage ability. You have to get a specific item later in order to actually use this. So at the beginning, you're going to safely ignore this until the storyline progresses far enough. So you can see down here, this is your army and this is your hero. Go to the hero window right here, so there's 4 choices. So as most RPGs, your hero levels up over time. The leadership here shows how big your army can be. Like, the more leadership you have, the bigger your army can be. Which is why the warrior will have more, the mage will have the least, paladin we're playing somewhere in the middle. So a way to look at this is, if we go down here to this bowman here, what you can do is if I click the wrong button, there we go. You just double click it. If you do a left click here, you know what? Let's go back over so you guys can see. So if you just go over and hold down your right click, it will pop up a box in the corner. But if you let go of the button, it disappears. If you double click with the left mouse button, it will stay up so you can look at it and go over things. So whenever you look over somebody, we were talking about the leadership. Let's go over that first. Right here it says 50 points. Every unit of bowman costs 50 points, and because we had 160, we can have at most 3 archers, because 3 times 50 is 150. If math is not something you enjoy, though, you can always go over leadership here, especially when you get odd numbers. You can see it on there. It says you have 160 points of leadership, and you can hire 3 creatures, because leadership of the troop is 150 currently. So it tells you what your maximum is, and the game won't let you hire more than you can take also. Every time you level up, and as you explore the world, you'll get more leadership. And then for anyone who's played a Heroes of Might and Magic game, a lot of this stuff is very much like that, where your hero's in the background. Your hero is never directly attacked. You're just leading the troops. So, before we go into any more stats, these stats, attack, defense, intellect, a lot of it either intellect affects spells you can cast as your hero, and attack and defense affect your units. They don't do anything for your character because your hero is always off to the side, and enemy heroes is the same thing. They're never directly on the map. If we go back to our bowman here, we've got 1-1 right now. If we go back to our bowman, we can see over here these numbers that are off to the side, this 16 and 10, that's the bowman's normal stats. Normally they have a 16 attack and a 10 defense. But because of our hero having 1 point in each, these are his actual current stats, this 17 and this 11. Pretty much, to simplify it, the way attack and defense works is if the bowman was attacking another bowman, so let's say they have the same hero, same stats, so the bowman attacks with his 17 attack, and he'd be attacking the other bowman with only 11 defense. So if your attack is higher than whatever you're attacking's defense, you do bonus damage. And if your attack is less than the defense, you do less damage than normal, so it's pretty simple. So right now, normally each unit here would do 3 to 4 points of damage. But it is, like I said, modified based on the attack and defense of the 2 units attacking each other. So that's something you have to keep in mind when you're looking over this stuff. Also, initiative just affects how fast in combat you get to go. Faster initiative, you get to go first at the beginning of combat. Slow initiative, you're going to go last. Speed's going to be how fast they can move actually on the battle board. And then health of the unit. So, and then if they have any special talents or abilities, they'll always be down here. Like for instance, the bowman here can shoot an ice arrow once per combat. Like it says charges, you get one of these per combat. And you can see over here that he's considered an archer. The reason it has keywords like archer here is because certain things affect, you know, specifically archers, for instance. It's kind of like if you go up here to these symbols up here, you can see that this is considered a human. Same thing. If a certain spell, a certain item, a certain skill might only affect humans, or might only affect dwarves, and you can see what they are up here if for some reason you're unsure. And if you ever want to, this will get rid of that unit, but generally you don't need to do that. The only other thing is right here, this face is the morale button. Positive morale will give them attack bonuses, damage bonuses, and the like. And negative morale will do the opposite. There's just different ways to get morale, as you'll see as we play. So you can see, just another example real quick, these peasants only take 5 leadership, which is why we can support 32 of them, because they're very cheap. They're also much weaker. Look at that, only 2 attack and 2 defense, and only 5 health comparison to our archers. So anyways, the other thing to keep in mind is, so all these squares here are for items. As you play, you'll get items, and you can fill in the items. If you click here, you can see your spell book. We didn't start with much at the beginning of the game. Something to consider, though, with spells is that these scrolls here are just scrolls. They're not in your spell book. So like if I use this resurrection scroll, it'll be gone. I don't have it anymore. Anything that's up here, if you can see these, and they have a mana cost right here, like this healing cost mana cost of 3, this is part of my spell book. So as long as I have 3 mana, I can keep casting it. 1 spell per round of combat. So that's something to consider. So what you can do is, if you go over these buttons on the side of scrolls, you can see create a spell from the scroll for 3 gems, which are over here. These magic crystals, gems, whatever you want to call them. You start with a good number of those, 20 of them. And so what you can do is you can press this button to add them to your spell book. Like this resurrection one costs 10. Now the reason I can't actually press this button and do it is, it says you need order magic on both of these, which we'll go over in a second. There's 3 schools of magic though: order, distortion, and chaos. So what happens is, there's 3 might, mind, and magic that are skill trees. Every hero, no matter which one of the 3s you picked, have the same skill trees. The difference being, if you pick the warrior, you'll get 2 custom ones in this tree. If you pick the paladin, you'll get 2 custom ones in here. And if you pick the mage, you'll get 2 custom ones in here. So like, for instance, since we did a paladin, we got runic stone here, and we got holy anger. Those don't exist if we picked the warrior or the mage. They'd have 2 different ones. So what you do to buy anything, because we could buy something now if we want to. It's just the tutorial, we don't need to. But if we clicked on might here, we start the game with 4 might runes, 6 mind runes, and 4 magic runes, which is how you buy all your skills. And every time you level up, you'll get more, and you'll find them in treasure and other things. So like for instance, if I wanted to do training, I could click on it, and ta-da, I've got training. Now the thing is, I don't know if you noticed, that used 2 of my might runes by clicking on it. So you do want to make sure that's something you want before you do these things. You can see this one here. Rage control costs 4 might runes and 1 mind rune. So you just have to figure it out as you go, pretty much. What you want, like by reading these, and the arrows mean you have to have the one before it. So they're all things to figure out as you go. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Like, it's fine that I took training for now, because I'll want the other ones, because same thing. I need them to go down to better ones. And even though I'm playing a paladin, which is in, like, he's in this group, he gets the most green runes, you're going to buy skills and everything. And so as you level up, if you're a paladin, you're going to get some red runes, some blue runes, and you'll get the most green runes. And all the other classes are specialized in their area. Like, if you're playing a warrior, you're going to get the most runes every time you level up in the red category. And a mage will get mostly runes in the blue category. So that's just something to consider if you like one of these skill trees better. That can affect which class you want to be then. I think that's good for now. Let us go out of there. So the spells, you just saw that. You can go from here to get there. Or a spell book on your hero. You can look at the map from here. There's not much right now. Like, most of the map is covered, because we haven't explored yet. And then there's always your quest log right here, which our quest log right now is just to talk to Iron Richard and complete the tutorial, which we'll do now. So if you just click, that'll move your guy around. Let's talk to a Richard here. Ah, well, Christian, come. Stand still and listen to me closely. The time of study has finished for you. From the moment when you entered this hall, it is the time that you face the tests. Know that these tests will determine your destiny. What will be your choice? As the top student, you have the right to refuse the test. In this case, I will decide by myself where you are to serve. I know you well, so I think you will be satisfied. So this is the tutorial. You don't have to pass this test. If you refuse the test, or if you do the test, either way, he makes the same decision. The same result happens either way. The only thing you're really missing out on is you get a little bit of items and gold, a little bit of starting stuff if you do the tests, which are these 3 doors here. So I would say to do them just to get the little bit of bonus. But if once you've played it once or twice, you don't really need to do it. Like, you'll be good enough. It's not that important. I mean, look how safe this door looks. It's just a dragon swallowing a person whole. Seems completely safe. So let's pass the test. You do my heart good, Christian. I'm proud of you. So here's the first task. Every self-respecting knight is obliged to kill dragons and save beautiful princesses. At least, that's what the common people think, thanks to those catchy pop songs which the bards sing in the taverns. And we can't disappoint them, right? In the first room you'll find a dragon, and a princess you must save. Good luck. My faith will be my shield. Maybe faith is a good shield, but a weapon still helps. Take the sword from the chest. I hope this time you don't have some stupid vow to worry us, like, ye shall not take a weapon after dawn. Thanks, Iron Richard. Am I supposed to beat a dragon with a training sword? Of course, you can't handle the dragon by yourself, so a troop of knights and horsemen will go with you. We'll see how skilled a commander you are. Of course, you may also act with cunning. Your task is to rescue the princess, so you may leave the dragon alive if you choose. On the other hand, a real knight always goes bravely into combat, and combat experience is always a good thing. Alright, Christian, go ahead. Now I'll sort this dragon out for sure, thank you. Okay. So we'll go over here. So this is how you interact with any item. Just click on it and you get whatever's in it. I found a training sword. So like, for instance, the training sword here, the tutorial doesn't like prompt you to put it on or anything. You have to make sure you do it. So go to the hero here. As you can see, not equipped. It's just in our backpack down here. If you go over it and see what it does. If you want more information, you can just right click and click info. And it'll tell you some stuff. Not very useful, but the most useful stuff is just going over it. Pretty much the main thing you want to see, a +1 to attack. And certain things, like it says race humans and things, can affect things, so you just have to keep an eye on them sometime. But we'll point those out as we go. Right now our attack is a 1. If we put this on, bing, our attack is a 2. Which, using our example here before, you remember, our bowman had a 17. Now he's an 18. So you got to remember, if later in the game when you have hundreds of a troop, having just a +1 to attack, or by that time a +10, +15 to attack, can make a big difference. And you'll notice that our leadership is suddenly 2160, which is massive. Well, it's that high because of the tutorial, because these units down here, these knights and these horsemen, click on them, you can see leadership 180 just for 1. We wouldn't be able to use them if they hadn't given us a bonus that we're not supposed to have. You know what I think we're going to do, actually? Let's look at our hero real quick. Look at our skills. So, for instance, our rune skill here, we could get scouting, which we actually started with level 1 in. And scouting just lets you look at units that you haven't attacked yet and see what's in their army composition, because normally you can't tell. You can see what units are there, but not how many of any kind, which can be dangerous, because if you accidentally fight something that's too strong, the end of you. Like this Holy Anger skill, we get a bonus against Demon and the Undead. This is a specific Paladin one, and we started with a point, and then Glory. This one just increases your leadership, which I kind of like that one, so I think I'm going to put a point into that one. It gives a point in everything. And then we still have 4 magic runes, so let's see if we can buy something there. Our only choices really we have right now is we can take Wisdom, which increases our mana, and the number of scrolls we can have in our spell book, which I'll point out in 1 second. Or we can take Meditation, which increases the speed of restoration, like how fast you get your mana back after you use it. Real quick though. So that thing was saying the number of spells you can, scrolls you can hold. Well, if you see here, you can see you can hold 6 scrolls, and we have 2 Blessed Scrolls and 1 Resurrection Scroll. We have 3 out of our 6. So let's say we find 4 more scrolls, one of them we wouldn't be able to hold on to. So that's something to consider, which is why I think I'm going to take this one. Gives me extra mana, gives me some scrolls, and most importantly, it opens up the other areas. If you remember, I'll just show you real quick. Like the Bless and the Resurrection Scroll, it says we need Order Magic level 1. Well, this Mage skill area is where you get that. So Order Magic right here we can take, because we have Wisdom level 1 now, or 2 Mind Runes and 2 Magic Runes. And maybe next level we could take Order Magic if we wanted to. And then there's Distortion, and the third one, Chaos Magic, is over here. And those are the 3 types of magic in the game. So for now, we'll go over the other skills later. That's probably pretty good. But we might as well get some of the bonuses, because you can see now we have 19 of 29 total. Now something, if you look, as we move, the mana goes up. Something the game's not very good at explaining either is if you hold down the right mouse button, you can turn your mouse, which is important because I think hopefully you guys can see this. There's gold hidden over here. There's an urn that says we haven't investigated. There's some more gold, and you don't want to miss all these items. So like this urn had 1 magic crystal in it, which is what we use for our spells, so we want to get that. We want to get this gold. Like, so there's just little things that, like, the fact that the game doesn't tell you this is really, like, you really want to make sure you get all these items. So you want to keep an eye out, make sure if it looks like a, like right now you can't tell, but oh, there's an alcove here, looks suspicious, make sure, make sure that you look. And the camera is a little sensitive, so you just got to get used to that. Well, there's our dragon. So what's his name was saying we could avoid it by like running around in circles. Like we could avoid him like this and grab it, but we're not going to. Because you mostly want to fight battles in this game because experience is important. Oh, you know what? I moved him. Let me explain how that works. So normally at the beginning of the game, you won't have these powerful units that the game gave us. So as you can see, there's all these hexes. So where it's lit up is where your units can move. And if you remember, if we just hold down the right mouse button again, we can see his speed is a 2. That's why they're highlighted. 2 squares away. Past that, can't move. We double click on him. I think we can single click actually, yeah. You can bring it up so you can actually like look at it without it just sitting up temporarily. And as you can see, like everything has special abilities in this game. Like, and one of the points of the game is managing your army, managing your abilities, and all these things to win without taking too many losses. So for instance, in this case, this is a ranged unit. And you can see he does magic damage. You can tell he's a ranged unit also because if you go over something, let's see, I have this arrow. So, bam. It doesn't do much damage because we don't have very many units, and a dragon's a powerful unit. So, like, we're gonna lose units here. Like, if the game hadn't given us these two, what are they, knights and what's the other, horsemen? Yeah, knights and horsemen, we wouldn't be able to win this. Like, these two are high-level units. They can deal with it. The rest of our army is pitiful to this dragon. It would kill us if it was just them. So anytime during a turn, you can click on your spell book if you want to cast a spell. But you can only cast one per round. So that's just something to remember. And a round is every unit gets to go. Anytime your unit has a special ability, for instance, you remember the bowman had the ice arrow, we could use that now, and it would slow him down. It has a slowing effect, which isn't going to do us much because he's right on top of us. It can be really nice to shoot a unit here, because then it takes them a long time to get to you, and you can pelt them with range damage. For now, we'll just shoot him. Now the thing is, I'm only hitting for 5, but is that a lot or not? Maybe you don't know, because we don't know how powerful this guy is. So if we just go over him, hold down the right mouse button, we can see more about him. And you can see, also, I think it's, yeah, we hold down shift and then click on him, because if you just left click on him like you normally would, the attack will go through. So on enemies, you need to make sure you hold down shift and then click on him. We can see he's got 700 health and currently has 623, so he has a lot. Like he's got a ton of abilities. Like he's a tough unit. He's got a massive attack, massive defense. Like I said, without those other ones, we'd be dead. And you can see when you go over somebody, it will give you an idea of how much damage you're going to do. Now the thing is, we have 10 units, right? Let's go over this real quick. We've got 10 units doing 14 to 18. So you might think, well, wait a second, they should be doing 140 to 180 damage. And actually, because these guys have a special ability called Valor that gives them +1 morale, he actually has +10 probability to do a critical hit also. So he can do even more damage. But the thing is, you'd be thinking he's going to do 140 to 180. But when we go over him, oh, he's not doing that much. Why? The reason is, you remember from before, we have a 32 modified, we have a 32 attack. The dragon has a 49 defense. So because our attack is so much lower than his defense, we're taking a penalty to our damage. So we're doing less than our max. Instead of 140 and 180, our range is 122 to 157. But that's the best we can do. Now if you see the sword is pointing at him, if we had it, this unit can't move very fast. It can only move 2 spaces. We'll just have him move up. We could move him here, but he won't attack then. So we'll just do this for now. Let's see if, I don't know if, I guess we have a faster unit in the, I'll show you with the horsemen. All these units will just attack. You can see, even though there's 32 peasants, they only do 12 to 23. They do a pitiful amount of damage. Now like that, he just did something, and you might be sitting there going, well, wait, what did he just do? If you're not sure, you can always look down here on the bottom. This Emerald Green Dragon uses mana source. Okay. Hold shift, left click, mana source. Let's see what that is. Go over here to talents, we can see mana source inflicts 50 to 70 points of magic damage to all surrounding targets and drains mana from them, giving it to the hero. He has an AoE attack, and if there was an enemy hero, you can see our hero is up here. If there was an enemy hero, they'd be up here, and they could cast spells and all these things just like we can do, and boost their units. The dragon doesn't get any bonuses because he's alone. So now if you look, see how the sword is moving and the movement arrow is changing? So if it's a sword, we're going to attack. But you can see if we choose to click here, our unit will move to this square and then attack. If we click here, he'll move to this square and then attack. So we can control which space we'd like him to be in, which can be really important. Like maybe, for instance, if this was a slow-moving unit, maybe we'd want to be here to help block our ranged units, for instance. Versus this dragon, same thing. It won't matter because he's so tough. The other thing to notice is, do you see how when I go over this, it says 61 to 81 damage, but it says the enemy will counterattack. Every unit in the game gets one counterattack per round. So, for instance, when we attack here, we're going to attack, and then the dragon, assuming he survives, if he's dead, he won't get to counterattack. He counterattacked for 100 points of damage. People can't counterattack our ranged units. Like, ranged units can just fire with impunity, pretty much. But, now we're on our knights. If we go over it, you can see it doesn't say they're going to counterattack. They're not going to counterattack because they already used up their one counterattack for the round. So it can be very important sometimes to make sure the counterattack is absorbed by a unit you want to absorb it. Like, if we had the peasants attack and they took the counterattack, it'd probably wipe the whole stack out. So it'd be much better to have these two powerful units we got take the counterattack. But let's say, just for testing purposes, these peasants had a really high initiative. So they're going to go first in the round. What you can do is down here, there's a wait button. That makes them wait, and all the other units will go, and then you'll go back around to the front of the round, and then they will go. You're still in the current round, though. So what you can do is have the peasants wait, have one of these strong units attack, absorb the counterattack, and then the peasants can attack without taking damage. The downside of this is that because the peasants didn't attack, like since they're holding back and waiting, the dragon potentially on his turn could just kill them. So you have to make good decisions on when and when not to use the wait button. If you simply don't expect a unit to attack, or you think the counterattack from the enemy will be too strong, or lots of other reasons, you can press this defense button, which will simply boost the defense of that unit, but they won't attack. It's good because your units get a counterattack also, so it can make, sometimes it's good to have your unit defend if you think someone's going to attack them, because then they take less damage because their defense is higher, and they still get to attack when they do their counterattack. So it's just another option for you to consider. So in this case, though, once again, our knights here do a ton of damage, so we'll just have them continue to slam this dragon until he's dead. Okay, so like this, the dragon just used target capture, just an ability he's got, and you can see one horseman got killed. I'm not going to worry about it because these two high-level units we're not going to get to keep. But if this is a normal battle, you could use the resurrection scroll we've got here to bring some of them, in this case, one of those units back to life. But for now, we won't worry about it because there's no point. Now the knight's doing this because he has a special like joust ability, so the farther away, like he'll use his movement to back up as far as he can and attack to get bonus damage, and he does it automatically. And you can see that the knight has 5 speed, so he could, if he had more, if he had more space on the map, he would have backed up further to get even more bonus damage. That also means we could have probably moved the knight maybe over here, and he would have maybe backed up an extra square, for instance. And maybe if we're still alive next time, we'll try that. If the dragon's still alive, which I think... Oh, he only has 135 hit points. He may not be alive anymore. Let's see what these guys do. No, they're dead. So you won't get to see that, but we'll see more as we play. So every time you beat things, you get experience, and you'll start leveling up, and you can see your casualties and the enemy casualties, and if you got money or items or what you got. Which is why I said the tutorial can be worth it, because you're just going to get bonus items and stuff. Like for instance here, oh look, a scroll. We found a dispel scroll. Some money. Got some gold. Gold. We also got a dummy. You take the dummy dressed in rags. So that was the princess. And once again, you want to make sure you always look around. Make sure you don't see any items that look like, oh, I could grab that. You don't want to miss out on anything. Looks like we got it all. If we want the camera to go the right way, we can turn it. We don't need to. We'll take the portal back and see what Richard has to say to us. Ah, have you saved the princess yet? Or am I going to be waiting here all afternoon? And sometimes the game is a little silly. Like, they'll give you options that are just for fun, and they don't actually, like, affect the overall storyline. For instance, this says, I saw the inscription on the dummy. One of them belongs to Richard Irontooth. Does this name mean anything to you? The handwriting is pretty familiar. Oh, how perceptive you are. Alright, I'll tell you, but let's keep it a secret. This dummy has been used for tests for quite a while. I used to get chased around by the dragon, too. Only back then, they put the dummy on wheels. So yes, I scratched the inscription. Back then, my nickname was the Irontooth. And I lost my Iron Tooth in another fight, so I just became Iron Richard. I have another couple of questions. Go back. I've saved the princess. Here she is. I mean, her remains, anyway. Here they are. Fine. I hope the dragon made you run a lot, Christian Tyler. Give me the dummy. It needs to be saved a couple more times today. Next. The next test will be more difficult. In the second room, a malicious necromancer with a whole army of skeletons and zombies await you. You are to clear the villain and take the Book of Death from him. Is that clear? Ah yes, take these scrolls. I think they will come in handy. In your combat with the Dark Wizard, the necromancer will use magic for sure, so keep your eyes open. Okay, so I'll just say no problem, because we know how to use scrolls. And we'll try to use a scroll this time. So we need the same thing. We need to make sure we grab them. If we don't grab them, you won't have them.